because you do a good job explaining pretty much the NATO propaganda hoax that people throughout the world is starting to see through. They are losing, or not that one yet. The West is losing the narrative war. The idea that the world is unified behind Putin is false. You have around 80% of the global population as aligned with China and BRICS and Russia. So with that fact, you have reporters. I showed this story where you had a TV anchor in India telling the truth about this. There was a TV reporter in Spain telling the truth of how the United States overthrew the Ukrainian government. And then you got people looking into the receipts of NATO, talking about how they bombed Yugoslavia and Libya. So as we are living in the most propagandized country, at least me and CJ, not Tara, we live in the most propagandized country in the world. But everyone else is having a conversation. Everyone else is seeing passive propaganda. So why do you guys think NATO is even forced to tweet this in the first place, fam? They tweet this because they are losing the narrative war. So this is NATO being and I'm gonna get you in here, Tara, but this is NATO losing the narrative war. So they put this tweet out. Let's get our facts straight. NATO is a
Let's get our facts straight.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, but you're so right. When I went and saw that, Nick, and I just want to say this before you play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I went, this is a NATO. They had like 100 likes. I'm like, this is an official account. With only 100 likes at that time. Go ahead.
DJ, to that point, look at this ratio, fam. They got 3.5 million views, but only 2,000 likes, fam. That's a horrible ratio.
Yeah.
If I get like 2,000 likes on my tweets, maybe 20, 30,000 people will see it. You know what I mean? Something like that. I'm not like a mathematician, but it'd be something.
I don't know if Nick.
Yeah, we lost Nick there. But he's right. He's absolutely right. I mean, think about the billions of dollars they have spent trying to silence the narrative, trying to shut down content creators like yourselves, trying to demonetize you. And I've been demonetized. My YouTube is just demonetized. I can't get any funds. This is the tactics they're using for those of us speaking out. You're back. Okay, finish your thought.
I'm sorry, my internet cut out. That probably was extremely confusing to you guys listening.
That's okay.
To it. But
I had the video saved too, but you can go ahead and bring it up. I was just gonna bring it up.
If I cut out against CJ, you can just take my shit down and you play it. Let me make sure everything's working here. Here, let me put this up. All right, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off. That's probably awkward, but let's play the video and then we can continue the conversation.
Yep.
Russia continues to spread lots of false myths about NATO. This is not true.
There we go.
NATO is a defensive alliance. Its purpose is to protect its allies. NATO does not seek confrontation and poses no threat to Russia. Every sovereign nation has the right to choose its own security arrangements.
Oh my God.
Russia has subscribed to this fundamental principle. We stay true to it and invite Russia to do the same. Another myth is that NATO promised Russia it would not expand after the Cold War. No such agreement was ever concluded. NATO's door has been open to new members since it was founded in 1949, and this has never changed. This open door policy is also enshrined in Article 10 of NATO's founding treaty. Decisions about membership are taken by consensus among all allies. No treaty signed by the United States, Europe, and Russia includes provisions regarding NATO membership. The myths need to be dismantled. The record needs to be set straight.
So Tara, please.
I'm throwing popcorn at the screen right now. Oh my Lord. Like every single thing they said is just like a gas.
Every line. Like that was carefully written lies. But go ahead, Tara. I want you to take the first swing at debunking this nonsense.
Oh my God. Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. I mean, the list goes on. They are an offensive force. The movement they've made towards Russia and closer to Russia's border alone, it's very strategic, and they are vassals to the West, meaning the United States and the United Kingdom. Their intelligence community is working within NATO to do it. It is an offense. It should be dismantled. It was not meant to do what it's doing when it was formed right after World War II. And by the way, a reminder to everyone who gets gaslighted about Russia. Russia sacrificed 27 million people. A third of their cities were destroyed in World War II by Nazis. They were responsible for winning the war, not America. And in fact, we caused more death and destruction than we did actually help in reality. And that's real history. Even John F. Kennedy has the quote saying, "We owe the Soviet Union a debt we can never repay." And that is the truth. And, the fact that NATO is, doing this is because there's so much money in weapons manufacturing. This is all about endless wars. This is all about pitting us against each other, while they want total control of what we think, what we do, and decreasing the population for the elites. That's their mission.
That's why it's important to understand history, because the NATO propagandists will say that Russia have no reason to feel threatened by Nazis being armed at their border. But everyone in Russia knows someone who was killed in World War II by Nazis. Everyone has when you talk about tens of millions of people died under Nazi tyranny in Russia, right? Yep. So everyone knows someone who was killed by a Nazi. Nazism is a scourge on their society, and they have seething disdain towards Nazism the same way we do as a Black Marxist network, correct? That's why Putin, who wages war against Nazis, have a high approval rating in Russia, because they have this scar of Nazi violence on the Russian people. So then when NATO in the West say, "Oh, Russia have no reason to be concerned with neo-Nazis being on their border," that is ridiculous.
It would be as if a bunch of armies were lined up on the border of Mexico and Canada and pointing their rockets and their missile systems at our capitals. This is the equivalent of because there are rockets that are literally 2 or 3 hours away from where they could hit Moscow and some of the land masses populated masses in Russia. And so they have to have a very strong, level-headed leadership in place to try to negotiate, be diplomatic, but also protect their citizens, because this is aggression. And there's no question who's trying to start World War III. And it ain't Russia. It's, and I can't believe that Hunter Biden was involved with this much pay to play, influence peddling, millions of dollars, and he is going to be the fall guy. And I do believe that more is coming out, to expose the Biden family and just how craven it is. But you have to understand too that Republicans are in that mix. And so there's a lot of people that don't want the truth to come out, because their pocketbooks are going to be affected, because they took the cash, right? Mm-hmm. Like Leon Panetta, he took the cash. He's taking the cash. Those people to me are psychopaths. When you're taking money and then trying to push a war, you're a psychopath. I'm sorry, there's no other word. And I have no respect, respect right now for American government leadership, for the misery and the millions of people that have been killed in the last decade alone by imperialism and the endless wars.
So this is to debunk this, and I got a few things. We still got a lot of cover on Ukraine. NATO was ratio to oblivion, by the way. Ratio to oblivion. For you Twitter nerds, ex-nerds or whatever. Mm-hmm. 3,600 replies to only 2,000 likes with 3.5 million people. That's a fat ratio, friends. So people are offended by them thinking that they can bullshit us into believing that NATO, a country, a military alliance that did this, is defensive. And why Reade, without effort, ratios to them to oblivion with way less views. This is what Belgrade looked like after NATO defensively bombed it for 78 days, killing over 2,000 civilians. So here are a few photos. NATO bombing Belgrade. And here's another one. This is a funny meme. Wins the Nobel Peace Prize, proceeds to bomb Libya, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Somalia, and Yemen. Once again, Libya, NATO had direct involvement as well. So the whole thread, there's 3,000 replies, 15,000 quote tweets. Jesus fucking Christ.
That's right.
Full, and the thing is, what makes this beautiful, and I'm glad they tweeted this out, CJ and Tara. What makes this beautiful is these are 1,500 quote tweets and 3,000 replies of people informing people of how NATO is lying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's not like just, oh, you're stupid, NATO. You're full of shit, NATO. It's full of factual replies for people who
are receipts.
Maybe if
receipts.
Sorry.
Yeah, and
this is completely backfiring.
Why Reade's a great investigative journalist, and as you know, when he was in Donbass, his hotel was. I had him on my show right after it happened. His hotel was bombed and stuff. But yeah, he's a great investigative reporter. I think he's now doing work for the Gray Zone, but he really called it. And I think as far as us speaking out, it's great, but come on, we've got to get people in the United States to say no more.